There you go. Or around Walmart. Maybe they'll let you take it in there. I don't know. Well, you are listening to the show. Tim and Mark here, and we have a special guest, and that is Amy Downey, a nice Irish girl who has gone Yiddish. Is that it? Now, Hanukkah is coming up this weekend.
Right.
Most people don't know about that, but Hanukkah is a special holiday for the Jewish people, and we're going to be talking about Jewish evangelism today. You want to stick around. We're going to give you the opportunity in just a moment to call in and ask any question to our Jewish expert here about Scripture, about the issue with Jewish people and prophecy, whatever you would like to ask in just a moment. But first, let's meet Amy Downey. Amy, welcome to our show.
Well, shalom. How are y'all?
We are very good, and
Good.
shalom means peace, right?
Well, it means more than peace. It does mean peace, and it's often what you hear when someone says hello in Israel. But shalom means at the core root meaning, it means the idea of completeness or wholeness. And one of the things that the ministry that God has given to me, which is the Tzedakah Ministries, is that can you really find wholeness or completeness apart from a relationship with Jesus as your Messiah? And, you know, my Bible tells me no. And so what I do is I go around and I speak in churches, I witness to Jewish people, I share my faith, my testimony, and I try to equip Christians, churches to know that wholeness, completeness, peace, shalom is not possible for anyone, but also and especially for Jewish people around the world apart from relationship with Messiah Jesus.
Now, let's clarify something for those who are listening. The Jewish people, they believe in the Old Testament.
Right.
Okay. So
Mostly.
most of the Old Testament
Yeah.
that we would say is Scripture, is the canon of the Old Testament. They believe pretty much mostly Old Testament history that you would learn in Sunday school if you're a Christian, except there is one massive dividing line, and that is Jesus is not the promised Messiah.
Right.
Now, they believe he came.
Most people believe he came.
As a human being.
As a human being. Good man, nice man. Said
Good
a lot
rabbi,
of nice,
teacher.
Yes, good rabbi. Said a lot of nice things and wanted to help people, but not the Messiah.
Not the one that was promised.
Right.
So they are still looking. It depends on, and I know there's 3 branches of Judaism,
Right.
and it depends on what branch you're in. One is secular, and they are not really looking for a Messiah any
Right.
longer. So there's some complicated issues there. But if you're Orthodox,
Right.
okay, if you're an Orthodox Jew and you seriously take the Old Testament, then you would be looking for a Messiah.
You're looking for the Messiah, and what the Orthodox are looking for is somebody who will, and this ties into Hanukkah a little bit, what they're looking for is a Messiah who will come as the liberating Messiah, who will come to set the physical people free, to rebuild the third temple, to sit on the throne of David, to be the King of Kings. And what they are confused by is that they're looking for the Messiah when the second coming. And I have a friend of mine, I'm not going to mention her real name, but she often will say, well, Amy, when the Messiah comes, I'll ask him, is this your first visit or your second visit? Because what we see as Jesus' return, his second coming, is what they understand the Messiah to be. And if I can take just a minute, I'll explain that, because it all really does tie back to Hanukkah, believe it or not. I'm a history teacher for my day job, for my paycheck, at Arlington Baptist College, so in Arlington, Texas. And so my kids know I love my history stories, and I'm going to give you just really quickly, because I know we're short on time at times. Hanukkah starts on Sunday, and the story of Hanukkah goes back to Alexander the Great, and he came and he took over the Holy Land, and when he died, his kingdom was divided into 4 people, his 4 generals, and the general who took over the Holy Land, his family ended up with Antiochus Epiphanes, who thought he was the reincarnation of Zeus. And what he did is he went into the temple, the temple of Zerubbabel. He took over the temple. He desecrated the Holy of Holies because he put a statue of Zeus in the Holy of Holies with his face, of course, because he also was a bit of an egotist. And he sacrificed a pig on the altar in the temple of Jerusalem. Now, I don't eat bacon, I don't eat ham, because, pig, Jewish people don't work well together. And so when he sacrificed the pig in the Holy of Holies, if you think back to Daniel, it's about the abomination of desolation. And he took over, and the Jewish people went up in arms, and Judah Maccabee and his family, they overthrew Antiochus Epiphanes through the Maccabean War. And at that time, up until that time, the Jewish people were looking for the Messiah to be the suffering servant of Isaiah 53. And after Judah Maccabee and they kicked out the Romans, the Jewish people's perception of the Messiah got a little skewed. It went from being the suffering servant who comes to take away the sins of the world to being a liberator, somebody who was going to come in and, kick some people around and get things straight. And so when Jesus came, we have to remember a little bit about our history. When Jesus came, Israel was once again under the force of the Romans. And in John chapter 10, and everybody on Sunday night, the first night of Hanukkah, should read John chapter 10, verse 22, because Jesus, as a nice Jewish boy, was celebrating Hanukkah, and he was in the temple, and he said, excuse me, and he was walking around the temple, and if you look in verse 22, it says it was winter during the Feast of Dedication, and they came up to him and said, "Tell us, are you the Messiah? Are you the Christ?" And he said, "I already told you, but you didn't believe me." What they were asking him in John chapter 10, 22 through 31 was, not are you coming to save our souls, but are you coming to kick some Roman tail, some Roman backside? And they were confused about the Messiah, and even today, when Orthodox Jewish people are looking for the Messiah, they're not looking for a spiritual Messiah. They're looking for
the liberator.
Right.
Yeah. And that is really the difference. And Christ did come to establish a kingdom, but it's a kingdom of the heart.
Right.
And even his own followers did not understand that. Many, many times you see in Scripture where disciples, like John 6, would walk away. They just couldn't understand, eat my flesh, drink my blood. And they're going, wait a minute. And scholars even say that Judas, when he finally betrayed Christ, was the realization, you are not going to throw Rome off of our backs. That's not what you're here to do.
And some even think that Judas was trying to force Jesus' hand.
Yeah, to get him to do that.
Right.
To get him to be a revolutionary. And Amy, just quickly, during the time of Christ and thereafter, there were many, many, many young men who rose up to try to start revolutions, who claimed to be the Messiah. Now, we don't remember those men because none of them made an impact on history like Jesus did. But Christ definitely did make an impact, and his kingdom is not earthly. It is that spiritual kingdom, and he's coming back. Well, we want to continue this discussion when we come back. Maybe you have a question about Israel, about Judaism, or about Jewish evangelism. You can give us a call and ask Amy. 888-528-9919. Give us a call. We'll be back in 2 minutes. 888-528-9919.
And we're back with more of today's news, issues, and feedback. I'm just trying to sort of kick back with my feet up on the desk, enjoying this because I am fascinated by Jewish way of thinking. Mm-hmm. I really am. And I realize you're not Jewish. You're Gaelic or Celtic.
Clarify that word, Gaelic.
Irish.
Okay, Irish. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.